we've already gone through that once, so we don't need another officer's oath right at this moment. We'll have it more later. And it is, though, time for officer's oath here on America's Web Radio. And we heard a little sneezing in the background there, and we've got Rudy on. And Rudy, I'm just going to, Rudy Davis is out in my home state. He's out in Dallas, Texas. We do a lot of shows from Dallas. We do the Texas Tea Party from Dallas. We do Our Constitution from Dallas. And you all haven't got the pollen in Dallas that we have over here in Atlanta right now, do you?
Hey,
Pardon?
I can just barely hear you, David, coming through like in a barrel. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you just fine. I'm not sure why I'm coming through like I'm in a barrel. Is that any better?
That's much better, much better.
Okay.
Much better.
Anyway, it sounded like you've been a little pollinated yourself out there.
We have had extremely warm the last few days, and it has been great. I love the weather. It's windy today, and it's good. It's a good day to take your dogs out for a walk.
I tell you what, there's not. One of the reasons I left the Panhandle of Texas was because of the wind, as a matter of fact. But I tell you, as thick as the pollen is here in Atlanta today, I would literally take a little of that wind to blow some of it away, or I'd even take a little rain to wash it down the drain. But that's we're on officer's oath. I think a lot of folks, in fact, I know a lot of folks know a lot about this show, and it's the Terry Lakin Action Fund Officer's Oath show, and it's about Dr. Terry Lakin and the sacrifices he has made in the past. It's been about 3 years now. He served time in Leavenworth because of a kangaroo court-martial that, it was just beyond me. But anyway, we've got Rudy Davis on the line, and there's a reason that we have Rudy on. Marco had contacted you and asked if you could be on the show today. And part of you've gotten involved in something, and I think, there have been some labels thrown around, and yet there is no question if a person can take the time and will be open-minded just to see, very simply, there is a problem with our president's eligibility to be president. And this is, Terry Lakin put his life on the line for this, his career on the line, and it's come back to haunt him. We had Dr. Watson, George Watson, on a couple of weeks ago talking about the harassment that Dr. Lakin has had in Kansas in getting his medical license there. And, it just goes on and on. But you're involved in something new. I know you've been you've been with Reverend Manning. You've been on his show and been a big part of what he's doing. And if people don't know Reverend Manning, Rudy, I'll let you describe. To say that he's outspoken would probably be the understatement of the day, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir, David. And Pastor James David Manning is outspoken. He's probably the most outspoken person, as far as trying to get the word out. And let me just quickly say, David, that I attended Terry Lakin's trial, and it was an absolute travesty what they did in that trial to Terry Lakin by not letting him present any evidence. And I remember them questioning the jury before the trial started, and some of the questions they asked, and it was an absolute travesty. And I'll say that I am very proud of Terry Lakin. I think he is a hero of America for standing up for the truth. He's a good Christian man, and and the fact that he had, that our country allowed a military officer to go to prison, for asking to see a birth certificate and standing up for the truth about Obama's eligibility I can't comprehend it. I almost feel like I'm waking up in the twilight zone at times, and I think that the truth will come out in the end, and I appreciate Terry's ability to put his treasure and his life on the line. And I think that all of us have to consider what's going on in the world today, because the bad guys, and I've heard this from Pastor James David Manning, the bad guys are willing to die to do their bad stuff, right? When you consider the crimes that's been committed in the forgery and the treason, they are willing to put their life on the line. We're talking about high treason here. And so where are the good guys who are willing to say, I'm willing to put my treasure and my life along with Terry Lakin and others and to stand up for what's right? And call me what you want to call me, and people have called me a lot of names, and I'm sure they've called Terry Lakin a lot of names, and they've called Pastor James David Manning a whole lot of names, and there's a lot of us out there. That as I've started putting together a list of outspoken birthers and constitutionalists, the thing that I found, you can call them racist, you can call them right-wing nut jobs, you can call them conservatives, you can call them Tea Partiers, you can call them Republicans, but what I found overwhelmingly is that they're Christians, and I think that that's what I want to be called, right? I don't associate myself with my job, I don't associate myself with a particular political movement. When it's all said and done, at the end of my life, I want to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," from the God who created me, and I align myself with the Bible. If it's in the Bible, that's what I promote, and that's what Pastor James David Manning promotes. And so you've asked about him, but he runs a church, a very righteous church in Harlem, and he is a man of God, and he does not back down from the truth. And the man is out there, when it comes to speaking the truth about Obama's eligibility.
Rudy, let's go back for just a second to Terry's trial, and what do you think they were trying to cover up or hide or keep from the public from finding out?
The female judge who wouldn't let Terry present any evidence regarding the birth certificate and the records that Obama is trying to hide. It's almost like some people just don't seem to think it's important where Obama was born. It's like, so what if he's born in Kenya? That they can't seem to grasp that our founding fathers put that in there for a reason, and the reason they did that is so that our president would not have dual loyalties, and that doesn't apply. We're not talking about just the qualifications to be an American citizen, right? That doesn't apply to you and I and even people in Congress. We're talking about a special requirement that was put in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution to be natural born. Emmer Dev Patel's Law of Nations it specifically outlines natural born to be both parents must be U.S. citizens at the time of birth. And Obama's father is Kenyan. And not only that, his birth certificate is an obvious forgery. So we have not only the fact that his father is not a U.S. citizen, but we also have the fact that he's putting out forged birth certificates, which leads you to believe that it's highly likely that he wasn't born in the United States. And so when you ask that question, like, what are we trying to hide, and why isn't more people, coming to the realization of what's going on? I can't imagine that anybody would think that's not important. It's like, well, it's not important that Obama is born in America. What do you mean? What do you mean? This guy is developing policy for the greatest country on this earth. He's developing, he's leader of the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military ever been assembled in the history of mankind. He's, and what kind of example does this set for our young people, David? I mean, whether we like it or not, our leaders do set examples for society, and not everybody has a good, strong biblical anchor, of the Bible because of the environment that they grew up in. So they look to the leaders in society. And what kind of example are we letting our leaders set when they can put out a forged birth certificate and everybody winks at it and says, ha ha ha? Donald Trump brought it to the forefront and he just put out a forged one, and just everybody knows it. Everybody knows that it's a forgery, but nobody wants to say anything. And brave people like Terry Lakin, brave people like Sheriff Arpaio, brave people like Pastor James David Manning, Captain Neil Turner, Walter Fitzpatrick. I got a list of 50 different people, and I believe that it will eventually catch on. God doesn't need a big army. He just needs Gideon's army, the ones that are dedicated, and the truth will come out. And I've heard this saying. I think Pastor Manning is the one who taught me this, but he said you cannot enslave an honorable people, and I had to think about that for a second. But that's true. An honorable people will not submit to tyranny. They will fight. They will fight because they will not allow their children to grow up in a tyrannical environment, and they will not allow themselves to submit to tyranny. And so I'm trying to wonder, you ask a great question, where are these other people coming from? What is their mindset? And maybe if they don't want to get involved, they feel like they're putting something at risk. I think what they're failing to recognize is that it's more risky not to do something. It's more risky to just be quiet and let this tyranny continue and let this usurper continue to have the position that he's not eligible for. And we've got to put this thing back on a right track, and we've got to return back to a nation of of laws. We cannot let this example continue. It will be a travesty, a terrible example for the young people of America to just wink at this and to, say, ha, 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 isn't it funny that, he managed to get to be president on a forged birth certificate and isn't even an American. That's not the right example, and thank goodness there are some people in this country that are willing to step up and and to say the truth. Say the truth. Come hell or high water, we're going to say the truth. And thank goodness there's some people that still don't allow themselves to be intimidated.
Rudy, let me ask you. There was an article in WND today, as a matter of fact, that, and it's been a while since you've been on America's Web Radio, but this article said that a survey they had taken is showing that now it looks like about 40% of the population, 130, 140 million people, do question the eligibility. Do you think from, it wasn't that many months ago that nobody, it seemed like we were called names, birthers or whatever, and I never considered myself a birther. I consider myself a constitutionalist, and just what you were saying, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, and I quite honestly, one of the people that's being thought of as a potential vice presidential candidate, I can't go along with because I don't think he's a natural born citizen. And so and I'm not going to go into that discussion, but with that being said, do you think it has improved? Are we gaining momentum? Just, it's so simple. It's so very simple. Just show us.
It's not complicated, right?
No.
It's not complicated, David.
It's like you and I were talking now. You went, by the way, you graduated from SMU. Was that when they were in the Southwest Conference, or was it still when they were in the
well, they had the death penalty at the time I went there, so there wasn't any football and no cheerleaders. So, that was probably a very good thing for me because it allowed me to, focus more on my studying. But you're right, I did graduate from Southern Methodist University. I have a degree in electrical engineering and a minor in mechanical engineering, so I was very blessed to have that opportunity. But they did have the death penalty on the football program at the time I was going through their university.
Well, you're just a kid then. So we used to play SMU, Texas Tech used to play SMU, and we always scheduled SMU for our homecoming game because that was a pretty sure win, But anyway, back to our discussion on this. If
I could just quickly inject, David, on that point you made, the 40%. I'll say something that I heard from my pastor Broden, Stefan Broden, who's very outspoken in the pro-life movement. He has a church in South Dallas, and he's my pastor. I've been going to his church for about a year and a half, and I'm willing to be educated, but I'm relaying something that he said, and so your listeners and you take this and you consider whether it could be true or not. And keep in mind that Pastor Stefan Broden is a black man. So, but he said that they're concerned that there are many people in this country who look up at Obama as, being the first African-American president, and that if they were to expose the truth about him not being an American citizen and the usurper that he is, that there would be riots in the streets and the black community would not stand for it. And Pastor Broden, who is a black man that's run a black church in South Dallas for over 20-something years, has said that he's one of the most outspoken people on this issue. So he said one of the points that we've got to consider is this country, America, the greatest country ever assembled by human beings and uplifted by God Almighty, in my opinion, has been through 2 world wars. We've been through a civil war. We had our president assassinated on television, right? And this country has been through some hard times, and we cannot wink and we cannot turn our head at unrighteousness and evil, and we cannot turn our head and just ignore the fact that this has happened, and because we're concerned that some people might riot in the street. I have more faith in the black community, and I have more faith that they will understand once the truth comes out that we've got to call evil evil, no matter what the color of the skin. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, polka dot, right? Evil is evil, and when you lie and when you forge and when you break the law to obtain the position that you have, we have to apply the law equally to everybody. And if we don't do that, the signal that we're sending to everybody in this country is that do whatever you can to get ahead, lie, cheat, steal, forge, and get up and just smile about it and lie about it, and everything's going to be all right because our president has done it.